Hi everyone, welcome to the weekly review of my M1 Finance dividend portfolio. Balance on the account is $220,333.89. Let's go ahead and see how the portfolio performed for the past week. Overall, it was down 0.61% or $1,361.84. I have three hold-ins. The first is VU. VU was down 1.60% or $2,347.57. SCHD was actually up this past week. It was up 1.51% or $1,069.30. And then QQQM was down 2.23% or $83.57. But before I go ahead into additional details, this past Friday in the stock market, I believe that was February 21st, was like literally the worst performance day for the S&P 500. If we just look at that day, literally on Friday, this is how my portfolio performed. So as you see, I had over like $2,800 in loss. Like VU was down 1.70%. Look at QQQM was down literally over 2%. So just a huge drop. SCHD down 0.39% that Friday. So that also played into the negative performance for the overall week. But let's go ahead and look at the activity. So for the past week, I just had one deposit, $330. It gave me one buy. It all went to VU, and I got 0.58 shares. And if we just look at the recap for the week, as you see here, the portfolio started at $221,365.73. Even with putting in $330, there was still that massive loss of $1,361.84 is what bring the balance to 220,333.89. I am getting a little bit nervous that I am barely in the 220s. I know last week I was really pumped because, I think I was 1,000 or two above this point, but I don't know what's going to happen next week. I could very well get below the 220s like balance, which wouldn't be ideal because I'm trying to grow this portfolio, but it keeps on shrinking. I don't know why it's working against me, but yeah, I don't know. And then also too, it's made me kind of rethink my bonus. So my bonus is supposed to be paid out on March 7th. And at first I was thinking about putting in a fairly significant amount, and I still will, but I think I might kind of take a couple $1,000s out of that and put it more into my emergency fund versus the portfolio, because yes, we're just living uncertain times and maybe having a little bit more cash is better. Now, I don't believe in having a lot of cash. Like right now I have $1,200 in my emergency fund. So just to put things in perspective, so I don't want to be like a hoarder of cash because my goal is to grow my wealth. I don't want to sit in cash in the high yield savings account. They're not paying like what they were paying before. I think mine's is like 4% or something like that. So definitely wouldn't want a bunch of cash in those accounts. But I'm thinking maybe it wouldn't hurt to have $5,000 or $6,000 in my emergency fund just in case I lose my job or something else happens. So that's where I'm coming from in terms of, instead of putting an extra $4,000 or $5,000 to the brokerage account, maybe I'll just take that money and put it into my emergency fund. But I still haven't fully thought that through. And I know like when the market is crashing, that's the time to throw in extra money. Like that's the time to like not pull back from an investment standpoint. But it does make you feel a little squirrely when you're like, ugh, like putting in money, but this balance is going down. How how does that work? Right? You're like, I'm adding cash, but the balance is getting lower. I thought it's supposed to be getting higher, but we all understand investing is a roller coaster, and literally that's what it is. Like last week I was up, This week, I basically plummeted. So, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and look at the funding, which is how much money I've put into the portfolio so far. So for 2025, I put in $7,900. So $1 away from hitting $8,000 invested in the year. And then let's look at the holdings. So overall, the portfolio is up 14.52% or $27,928.75. Again, I'm not happy with this return. Would love for this to be in the 30s or even higher. I know others have shown their portfolio where they're also invested in the S&P 500 and they have like 25, 30, 35% return. So definitely not impressed with what I have, but I do think the S&P 500 is a solid ETF, even if the return on it is not as impressive as what I'm seeing others have. But I do still plan to put my money into it until I find some better option, which right now I haven't found. So the return on the S&P 500 or VU is 15.08% or $18,982.66. SCHD is 13.86% or $8,740.29. And then QQQM is 5.96% or $205.80. So QQQM definitely hasn't performed at all like the growth ETF I thought it was. So now, granted, it's a new addition to the portfolio, so I want to be realistic. I think I added it November of 2024. So again, it's only been a couple months. So I think I'll definitely give it all of 2025 just to see how it performs. And if I'm still not impressed with it in December, it might get chopped come 2026. But let's see. I just, again, it hasn't really performed that well so far. If anything, I think it's actually worked against the main focus of this portfolio, which is growth. So I expect SCHD to work against that because SCHD is a dividend ETF. It's not growth oriented, but QQQM is a growth ETF and it is supposed to be growing this portfolio. But with a 5.96 overall return, I'm just not impressed with QQQM at all. All right, so those are all of the updates for this week. So still happy I'm in the 220s, even if barely. So we'll see how next week goes. Next week definitely won't be a heavy investment week for me because it's not a payday. Well, actually, technically it is a payday week, but I don't have a lot of money that paycheck to invest. So I might put in $50 or $100 for the week and that would be it. But yes, this is where I am this week. I'm definitely processing these losses a lot better. I can just tell it in my mood and my kind of overall demeanor. I'm a little bit more calmer than what I normally would be. I think I'm just at the point that I'm like, whatever. Like, I can't keep up with the stock market. And I can't afford for her to just keep on upsetting me every single week. So I'm just like, whatever. Like, take all my money. Like, do whatever you want to do, stock market. I don't have the energy to fight and stress over you anymore. So I think that's where I am. I'm like, whatever is 220. Hopefully it doesn't go below 220 for next week. And if it does, oh well. So yeah. All right. I will talk to you next week. Bye.